Well, folks, the Olympics is happening later this year. The 2020 Olympics is taking place in 2021 in Tokyo this summer. And it's going to be interesting for a lot of reasons, obviously, because there's no international fans being allowed, and there's also no ATP points available now at the tournament. So we're going to take a look at which players might play, which players might not play, and some of the interesting facts about past champions, who's really going to want to get an Olympic gold medal this year in the men's singles. So let's get into the Olympic tennis on this episode of Tennishead. Well, thanks for being here, folks. I'm Stephen Boughton, the host, and we are going to talk about the Olympics like I've said. But before we get into that, I want to let you know about the Tennishead Virtual Club. Join the virtual club and you get a lot of perks, like the magazine, the beautiful Tennishead magazine, as well as a lot of other things, like a head-to-toe ASICS tennis gear, coaching videos from the likes of Boris Becker, lots of other perks. So the link is below to check it out. So we'll see you down there. All right, so the Tokyo Olympics starts on July 21st, ends on August 1st of this year. We know that there's not going to be any international fans allowed based on the reports that we've seen, but there will be fans there, but they'll be all Japanese. So that's going to be an interesting dynamic that we're going to look into later. But it's also going to be an interesting dynamic how the Olympics fits into the already kind of broken or changed ATP calendar in 2021 with the pandemic going on. So looking at the history of the Olympics, there's been some really interesting things because the big three, Nadal, Djokovic, Federer, they've had success there, but not the same amount of success in recent years that they've had in the Grand Slams. Now, Nadal's won a gold medal in 2008, defeating Gonzalez, and then Andy Murray has won the last two installments of the men's singles gold medal. He won in 2012, defeating Federer, and then in 2016, defeating Del Potro. So it's pretty amazing for Andy Murray, he's won 3 Grand Slams, obviously, but he's come up short to the big three in a lot of ways when it comes to Grand Slams, but he's has a better record at the Olympics than Federer and Djokovic. So he's going to be defending the defending champion 2 times at this year's Olympics, defending his gold medal. But obviously, after coming back from his super injury late in last few years, it's going to be maybe a bigger ask for him to get it done this year. But I think all signs are pointing to him making a comeback at the Olympics and trying his best to defend his title. What do you think can happen? Can Andy Murray put up a serious fight to get the gold medal this year? Let us know. The fact that Federer and Djokovic have both never won Olympic gold in singles is a huge motivating factor for them to play again this year, I'm sure. We know that's the case for Federer, as he's cited that the Olympics is one of his main goals this year in his comeback at his late age. But they've both had chances. Now, Federer was in the final against Andy Murray in 2012 after just had beating him on the same venue at Wimbledon just weeks before, but he lost in 3 straight sets to Andy Murray, so he missed an opportunity there. Djokovic had a heartbreaking loss to Del Potro early on in the Olympics in 2016, where we saw him leave the court in tears, just feeling so upset that he couldn't get a medal for his country. So he'll be super motivated to come out and get his first gold medal in the Olympics as well. So let's take a little closer look at the actual event in Japan. It's going to be played on hard court. Matches will be played at the Ariake Tennis Park, an existing facility that's been upgraded for the games. The total capacity of the venue is 19,900, almost 20,000 fans. We'll see how many fans actually end up going there with the pandemic. There's still so many unknowns, obviously. Like I said earlier, there's reports we're seeing is that there's no international fans being allowed. So how's that going to affect the Olympics? Oftentimes, players are playing in front of fans that have traveled from their country to cheer them on. Like we saw that big time with Juan Martín del Potro in 2016 games in Rio. He had the Argentinian South American crowd there just going crazy for him and really supporting him, and he got a very good result there. So how do you think that no international fans will affect these players? Will it make them not be able to raise their game as much in these Olympics? What do you think will happen? Now, typically, all the top ATP players want to play the Olympics for country pride. It's a no-brainer. It's the biggest sporting event in the world, and they want to bring gold medals and medals home for their country. There used to be ATP points involved in winning the Olympics, but that's not the case after 2016. So that's going to change some of the importance of the Olympics for especially lower ranked players who really need those points. So, quote from Dan Evans, the British #1 currently, says, "It's a difficult one," Evans says. "I'll have to sit down and see if this fits into what I need. My first and foremost goal is staying on tour and making sure I'm winning matches on the tour and for longevity. Maybe, however many weeks it would take out of my schedule might not be ideal for me. With people playing the Olympics, it might give me a better chance at picking up points." So I think what he said there is a feeling that's going to be shared amongst a lot of players who aren't as high ranked. Obviously, points don't matter as much for guys like Djokovic, Federer. They're more interested in getting their first ever gold medal, like we said, and adding that to their trophy cabinet. But that could be an interesting thing for guys like Dan Evans, players who really need those points. So who do you think we'll see there? Is there any top players that should be playing that you think might pull out? We're going to keep you posted, obviously, but it's going to be an interesting development to see. And finally, with the Olympics, you have countries playing together, so you always get some interesting doubles matchups. So obviously, historically, we've seen Federer and Wawrinka for Switzerland. They actually won the gold medal in doubles before. You can see Medvedev-Rublev, like we saw at the ATP Cup, potentially Nadal and Feliciano Lopez. It's really interesting to see those doubles matchups and the mixed doubles matchups because you often don't get to see these pairings on the ATP and WTA tours. So who are you looking most forward to seeing at the Olympics? What's your favorite thing about the Olympics? I would love to know. Leave your comments in the section below. Thank you guys for being here for another episode of Tennis Head. We will see you next time here on our channel.